Let's talk about the game on Saturday night. Alabama at Georgia, the perfect SEC slugfest in week 5. The Georgia Bulldogs, 2.5-point favorites on ABC, the 6:30 game. They're looking for revenge, guys. After Alabama beat them last year at home, they nearly blew them out of the building. The first half was demoralizing, I think is an understatement for the Georgia Bulldogs. But they came back. They found a way to get back into that. There was a very strong chance that they won that and ended up losing it late to some heroics from Milroe and Ryan Williams, etc. But for Alabama, they come in obviously with the loss at Florida State, which is starting to look more and more, I think, like just a week 1 landmine. An instance where you were not ready to perform. You were not taking Florida State seriously, and it bit you. For Georgia, they seem to have a bad habit of waiting until like the second quarter to start playing, right? It takes them a while to turn the engine over, and that's kind of a Kirby Smart staple. It doesn't feel like Georgia starts fast in a lot of these games. They kind of like to play from behind for whatever reason. For this one, though, I'm wondering if Alabama can be Tennessee 2.0. And what I mean by that is if they can get points up early, burning that Georgia secondary like Aguilar did, like that Tennessee offense did, and then hold on for dear life. Tennessee should have won that game. And we're going to talk about the Vols in just a little bit. I'm still very high on what Tennessee can do. Now, there's something to be said for learning how to win and close out tight games. Alabama gets their shot this week to do just that. Ty Simpson, guys, is the key for the Tide here for me. FSU did not look good. But since that loss to Florida State, he is just completing a cool 89% of his passes for 608 yards and 7 touchdowns. He's been nearly flawless. And in a situation where both of these teams have actually been rather pathetic at getting to the quarterback, Simpson is clearly a different guy when he's knocked off his spot. When that offensive line is playing like Swiss cheese, I don't know that we've seen Georgia show the ability to get to the opposing quarterback this season, though, with any sort of regularity. So with that being said, give me the Tide plus the 2.5 going on the road. Alabama's third in passing defense, guys. If they can get stops through the air and if they can make Georgia one-dimensional, I don't know if the Bulldogs are good enough yet on the ground to win it with the running game. So I'm going to take the Tide outright here. Looking at the SP Plus, they expect Alabama maybe to earn a very slim margin of victory as well. So I'll lean into that and say Kalen DeBoer gets a statement win.
That'd be massive for Kalen DeBoer, and it would get a lot of naysayers off of his back. So that'd be huge. I'm of the opinion that Georgia is very close to being back to juggernaut status. And I think you saw a new dimension of that offense unlocked in that Tennessee game. I didn't think they could win a game like they did against Tennessee. I did not think that this version of Georgia was built to win a shootout. And then Gunnar Stockton unlocked a new level of competency, of just clutch play ability down the stretch in that game. The defense did just enough down the stretch in that game. I was really, really impressed by that Georgia win in Knoxville. Gunnar Stockton, for all the greatness that Ty Simpson has been, I'm almost close to being president of the Ty Simpson fan club. I've been singing his praises all offseason. Y'all know that.
Yep.
Gunnar Stockton is 5th in the nation in QBR, and it's because he's able to do it with his arm. You saw the throws that he was making against Tennessee. He does it with his legs. For as much as I'm concerned about Georgia's pass defense, guys, I'm equally concerned about Alabama's rush defense. Yeah. Haven't exactly seen them fix that just yet. They've obviously done better than they did against Florida State. What happens if Georgia decides to play bully ball just like Florida State did? They have a running quarterback just like Florida State did. This is on the road just like it was against Florida State. I got to see this Alabama defense step up and be ready to man up in another physical man ball game that they haven't had to play the last couple of weeks as the competition level has stepped back down. So you're absolutely right. That Florida State loss is aging well for Alabama, but this could end up being a very similar style of game as that Florida State game very easily. And you're going on the road into a raucous environment, the revenge narrative, like you said. I'm taking Georgia minus the points here. I'm taking Georgia minus 2.5. I think Kirby Smart, obviously the struggles against Alabama have been well documented. 1-6 against Bama in his career. It's been just that last step. Beating Bama consistently is really the last thing that he hasn't accomplished yet in his career. But like I said off the top, I really think this is very close to being a Georgia juggernaut. when their defense decides to show up, it's still elite. Look at the Texas games last year. Look at even the playoff game, keeping them in it against Notre Dame for a long time. When their defense decides to show up, and it typically does at home where they've won 33 straight, it gets ugly for the other team really quickly. These two offenses are matchup nightmares for the opposing defenses, so I am expecting quite a few points in this one, but I think the home crowd, I think Gunnar Stockton making a few plays with his legs, that does just enough for Georgia to get out here with a huge win.
One note real fast, Garrett, on the run defense specifically, Alabama does get Tim Keenan back this week. Now, hadn't seen any action. He's going to be rusty, I'm sure, but you talk about a key to the run defense, at least that's what the Tide beat writers and fans have been saying all offseason, and so far they do get the guy that they're pinning a lot of their hopes on this week. So something to monitor.
And he gets to try to find his footing against Georgia. That sounds like a great spot.
Congratulations.
Well, Mitch, now that I know that, let me type a couple things because I need to change my pick. No, I'm with Trey on this one. I'm all in on the Dogs. I wouldn't be shocked if Bama wins this one, but I also would be shocked if that defense for Georgia doesn't look miles better. You gave Kirby Smart a bye week after his defense got embarrassed against Tennessee. Like you won, congrats. You kind of got lucky. You're glad that Tennessee decided to shank a punt or a kick to Timbuktu, right? That ball was nowhere close. The apex was already offline. Like it was never had a chance. So in that sense, you could very well be talking about a Georgia defense that got embarrassed and run over by Tennessee in a loss. They're lucky that that's not what the story was. But you gave Kirby Smart 2 weeks to sit here and rip into his players and get in the film room and fix problems. That Georgia defense is too dang good to do that again. I would be shocked in any way, shape, or form if they give up that kind of a performance to another offense again this whole season. So I think that this is going to be kind of a bad spot for Bama here because, look, I need Bama to prove to me that they can be physical against a good team. It wasn't about the play calling. It wasn't about the quarterback. It wasn't about any of that stuff when they played Florida State. They got bullied, right? They got physicaled out of that stadium. They got pushed around. The effort wasn't there. They got completely demoralized. And now they have to go to Athens, where that crowd's going to be crazy. I mean, y'all talked about it, but after what happened last year, do you think those fans are going to come out there with anything less than 100% and crazy passion and screaming and barking and all the other stuff that they do over there? It's going to be a crazy crowd. I just don't like this spot for Bama at all. I think this is one where it could spiral a little bit. Kind of Trey, to your point about the unlocking stuff with, Gunnar, when he hit that pass on fourth down to hit that touchdown and kind of get him back in that game, I almost audibly was like, happy learned how to putt. Like it became that thing where I think Georgia figured out how to become that offense again, where they could do all the different things you needed them to. They've already proved that they can run the football. Now they've got that passing aspect as well. I think Georgia wins this one in a little bit of a statement. I'm not going to call like a complete blowout because I think Alabama's too good and too talented to get completely blown out like that again. But it wouldn't shock me at all if we come on here a little bit early because, this one is wrapped up middle to late fourth quarter. It wouldn't shock me at all if this game wasn't super competitive late. So give me Georgia. I'll give the -2.5 as well. I wouldn't be shocked if they win this one by double digits.
Tell you what, animal rights activists, avert your eyes if the Bulldogs get coming down the tracks because we know that fan base likes to get weird. A win over Alabama would certainly give them a lot of confidence going forward. Talking to the doctor on our staff who's an Alabama grad, he said, like, if we lose this game, okay, probably not that many people expected us to win. He said, man, if we do win, the tide is all the way back and I get to be as obnoxious as I want. It's like, you know what? That's probably pretty fair.
Yeah, like that was going to stop him anyways if he didn't have the excuse, right? That's Bama fans, right? I don't know anything about this guy, but I know Bama fans, and that's what Bama fans do. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Cannot wait to end our night. Trey, I mean, to your point off the top of the show, it's like a shame that we have that in the whiteout going at the same time because each of those games deserves the main screen and have to either throw it into the quad box.
It's almost an excuse to buy a second TV, like just to make sure that you can have a full screen for both games.
Not financial advice there. Please act accordingly. But we would love to know which side of this SEC slugfest you're on. Alabama, Georgia. Write in, drop a comment below in Spotify if you're listening on the app.